Alright, welcome back. It's Wednesday night, and Wednesday night, once a month, is bike night at the Thomasburg store, and that's where we are heading. And I'm going to be riding my 1931 Norton. Alright, so we are now heading towards Tweed, and I just have to make a slight detour. What a beautiful night. Not as hot as it has been, so that's good. Oh, they need to fix these roads. Nothing worse than a shoddy job fixing potholes. They use tar and chip. Good for 3 days, and the potholes all came back. Waste of money. So a bit later on, when I get down maybe on the back roads there, Rapids Road, I will give you an update. Well, not an update, I guess. I'll give you a little bit of history of this 31 Norton and how it came to be into my hands. Right over this way here is Stokoe Lake, and I live right over that way, so it's kind of hard to see the lake this time of year. Late October or so, when the leaves go, it's quite nice. For many of you don't know Tweed. Tweed has a bit of history. And that is because Elvis Presley lived here. And that's a fact, guys. I'm not bullshitting you. That's a fact. He's been here, apparently. And the hardware store in Tweed, that's now long gone, was run by a nice old lady. And she told me once that way back when, she didn't know who Elvis Presley was. And this man came into the store to buy goods for his home. And when he left, one of the ladies that came into the store said, "Oh my, do you know who that was?" And the lady at the counter says, "No." She goes, "That's Elvis Presley." Well, he made another trip back to the store, and she claims up and down that it's Elvis Presley. And that's not the only sighting. We even have a roadway called Elvis Lane. So if you're in Tweed, say hi to Elvis. Alright, I'm going to pause all this as we enter Tweed. Just a little village, you blink and you go through it. But I have to make a detour. And I'm just making my turn here onto Rapids Road. And you'll remember this road when I was on my 31 Ariel. And there's my jockey ship, and I have to reach down to, can't quite show you there, but anyway. So in 1983, Lord. You know, my Ariel suspension, I'm going to have to say to you Norton guys that it's far better than this one. But anyway, so in 1983, the freshly formed section of the Quinny section of the Canadian Vintage Motorcycle Group, we had a vintage display thanks to Belleville Sport and Lawn and Ron Hadley, who invited us in. And one of the bikes that was brought in was this Norton. And my buddy Dave Lacombe fell in love with it. Well, the gentleman that brought it in borrowed it from the owner. He wouldn't give us any information whatsoever. Other than that, he was, well, I'm not going to say. But anyway, Dave would pester me. And I made phone call after phone call after phone call to the gentleman until he relented and gave me the gentleman's name and phone number who owned the Norton. I phoned Dave, and Dave right away phoned him. He phoned me and he says, we're going to Trenton. Now Mr. Bewley lived right next to the air base, which his whole property is now long gone, expropriated for expansion. And we went in to see Mr. Bewley, and he was shaking so bad he had Parkinson's. Well, him and Dave, they hit it off. And Dave had asked him, he says, is the Norton for sale? And he says, yes it is. And Dave asked how much. Mr. Bewley replied, $500. Now, mind you, in 1983, $500 for this bike was friggin' nuts, right? And this bike would have been a $100 bike all day long in 1983. But he said $500 because this was his pride and joy. And he liked Dave so much, he was willing to sell it to him. Anyway, Dave reaches down into his pocket and pulls out cash and counted off $500. And Mr. Bewley goes on to tell us that, well, the bike was new to him. And we found out years later, when I did some research, and that he had gone to Toronto on the back of an Indian. Now we figured it was just after the war because Mr. Bewley was about 16. Went to the dealer that was selling the Norton, bought it, they drove home. He had no headlights, there was nothing on nothing. And there he competed with it when he got home. Like Trenton and Belleville had small racetracks back then. And he competed. And in 1950, his family came along and he put the bike up, though he did use it for off-road ride in the fields, and I think that's where most of the damage occurred. But Dave got it home and we got the bike running, but Mr. Bewley had passed away within the year. Dave kept the bike going, took it all to the rallies. You know, it was not restored, it was just cleaned up and painted, and he wanted to keep the bike just like Mr. Bewley had. Then around 2016, well, we're at the Old Bastards rally. My buddy Jim was there. Dave offered me the bike for sale, and I thought he was joking. He was not. So we agreed upon a price. And my goal then was to tear the whole bike down and make it roadworthy. The rims on this bike, I hammered out torches, and I made special curved flats so I could hammer the wheels straight, reasonably straight again. So both rims are Dunlop 1930, so these are still the original rims to the bike. I've kept all the spokes I could save, brass nipples, etc. Now, I did have the tank, as I did have the tank done. Chris Stapley did all the beautiful paint work. And Russ Thompson, God rest his soul, he knocked all the dents out the old tank and the gas tank. I also should back up that I also found out that the first owner also raced this bike. He was the one that removed the headlights, removed the generator, the taillight. He put the special blanking triangle plate over the magneto, and I still have that. I don't have the original carb on it, but they did extend the carb by about that much. That was the racing trick. He had also, after he had bought the bike, he ordered a 31 Norton CS1 gearbox, and that's in the bike right now. He also had a lighter rear sprocket and a special front sprocket. So there was some work done to the motor, and this bike is geared tall. It's got the close ratio gears in it, just like my 31 Ariel, but the two are slightly different. I just stop sign here. When I take off, first gear is about normal, but second gear I can wind it out 50 mile an hour in second gear before I shift to third. So I'm not sure of the actual history and afterwards, but Mr. Bewley didn't do nothing much to it. The seat that is on it was done at some point by one of the original owners of the bike, and I'm not really sure who. And anyway, Dave wanted to buy the bike back in 2019. He was at the house and he offered to buy it back, and I said yes, he could. But sadly, in January of 2020, he passed away peacefully. So to me, this bike will always be Dave's bike. And we are here. We're a little early, but... And by the way, the Thomasburg store you're looking at right here was a Kawasaki dealership back in the late 70s, early 80s. Gonna have to give her some wick here. Make it up this hill. And this is my turn coming up. It's funny when I shift on this compared to my 31 Ariel. It's I got to swing my leg out to do the shift, and on the Ariel my shift is right here, but every time if I come off riding the Norton, I go to shift the Ariel, I'm always reaching back here. It's just the differences between the two bikes, and the brake is on my left on this, and the brake on the Ariel is on the right. So just to compare the two, in case you're interested. So as I mentioned it before, I think of the Norton to me is like considered like the bad boy, you know, and the Ariel is like the gentleman. I find that the Ariel suspension is, with the girder up front, is it goes over bumps better. It's smoother. They both got good gearing, close ratio gearboxes. The both bikes will cruise at 50 mile an hour at a pretty, I wouldn't say vibration free. There is a little bit, but let's just say it is vibration free. It's not what people think it is. The Norton just feels it's not as smooth in the drivetrain as the Ariel is, and the motor is not as forgiving like the Ariel motor is, and I'm not 100% sure if it's something to do with the work that the first or second owners did on this bike back in the day when they raced it. But regardless, both bikes pull good, they run good. Fuel economy is somewhere around the 60 to 70 miles per gallon. The only thing I did on this Norton is I put catalyst bore valve guides in, so I have to give it a little squirt of oil before each ride. It's got a I believe it's what year, 49 and up to 50 something Norton ES2 piston in it. The only thing I had to do, I just had to cut the skirt down a bit, and that's really easy to do. Let's see. So when I did the motor on this, I discovered it has 1.880 valves in it, which are extremely hard to come by, and I know Racing Norton has them, but they were the wrong length, and so I bought some Chevy big block valves, stainless, and Greg in Ottawa, he machined the valves down, and he made the special grooves for those kind of odd collets that Norton used. So it's so the motor's all done, and like I say, it runs second gear, 50 mile an hour, and it's not even struggling at that. So I think the gearing was all done when the lads back in the day must have had, you know, long beaches to race on. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But and the difference between the exhaust between the 31 Ariel and this one's got, you can probably hear it through the mic here, it's got quite the bark to it, and the Ariel is very quiet. The Norton makes a little more mechanical noise in the top end compared to the Ariel. But all in all, Both bikes are fun to ride, but the Norton just has that feel of a I'm bad. You know, that's kind of what I call it, the bad boy. The front brake on the Ariel works pretty good, not bad, pretty good. The front brake on the Norton is, even with new linings and everything done, anything about 25 miles an hour and less, they work not bad. Anything above that, you toss out an anchor and hope for the best. The rear brakes on both bikes work exceptionally well. So can't complain too much. And the if you notice, I don't have a speedometer, just my cat's eye, and I'll explain to that in a second here. I got some cars coming, and it's, as far as I can tell, it was only 1 year only, and it fitted, I believe, in here. It was an oblong dish, and it held your speedometer and the light switch. Those are about as rare as hen's teeth. So I suppose if somebody had the proper dimensions, they can make something up. And I bet you, well, who would buy them? Really, the 31 Norton Model 20 is rare in the UK, and here in Canada, more so. For instance, 1931, Overseas Motors in Toronto imported only 12 of my Ariel, the VF31. And I'm not sure how many were actually imported for the Norton Model 20 in 1931. So I bet you these two are the only survivors here in Canada and maybe even North America, because I've never seen another one. But if you happen to know, I would love to know if indeed another 31 Ariel VF or this Norton Model 20 exists in North America. I think there is I know there's a Model 18, a 1930 Model 18 up in Ottawa, I believe. But I'm more concerned about the 31 Model 20. How many of them are out there? And we are home. Lights off. Camera off. All right. Well, we made it back, as you can see. I hope you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I have a couple other rides in the works. We did the Oxford Mill show, and then I'm going to be doing a ride out of Nova Scotia on one of the bikes. So hit subscribe if you like it. If you like these videos, and until next time, oh, Oh, and I have a 69H1 barn find I'll be doing over the winter time. So stay tuned for that, and thanks again for watching.